Well, planting a tree in your yard requires a lot of work, especially if you live in a city.
In this week's Forecasting Growth Weather Authority meteorologist Ryan Munn spoke with an expert and gives us some tips to ensure your new tree thrives.
As you drive through Portland, you'll notice many different types of trees line the street and provide shade in people's yards. And if you're interested in planting one yourself, there are several things to keep in mind. The biggest is whether or not you have enough room.
You want to give them as much space as possible. If you don't want to plant right next to your building or your foundation. Ideally, you don't want to be planting right next to your driveway or your sidewalk.
Chris Plante works for Davey, a company that specializes in tree care. He says planting a tree is much like planting a shrub or bush. You'll want to dig a hole twice the width and depth of the root ball.
The tree is, when it's transplanted, it's in stress immediately, and you may see some decline in it in that first year. So you want to really make sure that soil's correct, the amendments, mulching is done properly, it's watered properly, it may need fertilizer.
It will benefit you to test the soil before planting so you can make any necessary changes. And make sure you water it deeply every week. As the tree grows up, it can have a variety of benefits, especially in a city.
First is that the tree is going to provide some habitat so that you can get birds back in the city and hear the bird song. The tree is going to cut down on temperatures in the city that are getting hotter and hotter, and it's going to provide shade canopy for everybody who walks up and down this street, for the kids who play across the street.
Talking to an arborist before planting your tree can be useful, as the first year of growth is the most important. In this week's Forecasting Growth, I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn.
Well, Chris Plante really has some good tips for
What
us.
are the chances of having a name Plante when talking about this story?
Born for this. We were joking. I was like, that's like me being named Christian Weather, but
Right.
I do love that so much. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think you can just pop a tree in the ground and it'll grow. You got to take care of it, right?
That's right.
Tender, loving care. And by the way, I was just reading this online on a website. It's called the Tree Planting Statistics. Globally, they say 1.8 billion trees are planted each year. But they need even more than that because around 15 billion trees are cut down or burned annually. So that's why it's so important to plant trees around your community.
So everyone should be planting one is what it sounds like to me.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt.
Yes, and a lot of times, one thing I've learned about trees is that when you see them in like a parking lot or something and they're covered in that black mulch and they're kind of in that lumpy pile, that is so bad for trees.
Right.
And they need to be planted better than that. So, glad to see that we've got such good arborists and tree experts that know, where to plant them, how to make your tree successful.
Yeah, they seem so knowledgeable, and have some great tips on where to plant them and where not. Make sure not to do it too close to your house because of your foundation and all of that. But
Yes.
So our thanks to Ryan Munn and Chris Plante.
Yes, thanks Ryan. Always great package on the forecasting growth and how to grow anything in your garden or in your backyard.
Green thumb.